Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado.
Hey.
There you go. Coming to y'all tonight from the conclusion of UFC Vegas 99 and PFL Super Fight Battle of the Giants.
What a dumb fucking name that is, right?
Really dumb.
It's like Super Brawl. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
I mean,
1999 called. They want their names back.
Yeah. Just do Battle of the Giants if you have to. Otherwise, why don't you just do PFL Ngannou versus Ferreira? Boom. Naming
Sounds great.
done.
Sponsored by Riyadh Season.
Yeah. But how many pay-per-views do you think this PFL card sold? I was kind of thinking
2
when I came.
Did you pay for it? Don't answer that.
No, don't put me on the spot like that. Come on, man.
I'll tell you what, though, it cut out way less than that ESPN Plus stream.
Yeah. I mean, because I was thinking going in, like, oh, you know what? It's Ngannou. He's a big deal. They've been talking about this for a while. We've been thinking about this for a while. We had the AJ fight. It was a tragedy, but we had that. We had the Fury fight lead-ins for this, so people have known about this on their radar for a while. Maybe it did all right. Maybe it doing all right would be like getting above 50,000 buys.
Here's the thing:
100,000.
Not a single casual fan knows about it. Not one.
That's the thing I realized watching it today and looking at the Twitter conversation and like looking at social media conversations going on around this fight. Just nobody cared. And even hardcore fans, like, nobody was showing up for Zafar Mohsen versus Hussein Katamagomedov or Johnny Eblin versus Fabian Edwards 2.
I actually did watch that one.
But we already saw that.
Let me I had it on.
Okay,
It was muted and I wasn't really paying attention.
But people had already seen that fight. The hardest of hardcore fans were showing up for Paul Hughes, AJ McKee, because that was,
That's a great fight.
That's a great fight. That's just a great fight. But
for hardcores, though.
Yeah. The rest of this stuff, I'm kind of wondering, like, if this even cracked 50,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it. And here's the other thing. They burn so much money. If it weren't for the Saudis, I would be they're laundering. Like, this is clearly a front. Like, I don't know if it's drug money or what the fuck, but there is no way they're dumping this much money into this.
Yeah. Like, well, the problem to me is, like, just, this is supposed to be the kickoff, really, for a PFL pay-per-view future.
Grand opening, grand closing.
Yeah. Like, we're supposed to be getting, a few big PFL cards a year that feature all the big PFL fights, and it's gonna give them a foothold to not, because we've already seen now a few seasons of PFL as a season format show, and we've just like we saw seasons of Bellator as a season format MMA event series, and it's got a hard cap, and I think PFL figured that out pretty quick. Like, it's just not a style of MMA that has a really long growth potential. It has an initial buy-in where people are like, oh, this is new and novel, and then you watch it for a while and you're like, MMA doesn't really work like this.
There's not enough spectacle to it.
There's not enough spectacle to it, and like, people get injured all the time. You can't have a season where you're like, oh yeah, and these guys are gonna fight. And they're gonna, like.
No, I mean, I think the seasons work fine. I think plenty of fights happen, and plenty of seasons have gone on, and plenty of divisions where injuries haven't plagued it. Like, it's gone over just fine. It's just the fact that it's so clinical and stale, and just it's not. There's no spectacle. There's no reason to to tune in for a freak show. You can't be like, hey, just come, like, casual fans, come watch this for X reason. It's
Yeah.
no, unless you just genuinely love the sport, you're not going to tune in. And then you couple that with the piss poor production quality, like, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's not a sales point for seasoned MMA and that it's just fine and all that. It's
Well,
just
no,
that
I am. If that's
yeah,
all you, if that's your
yeah.
gimmick, that
It's
ain't
just
it.
it's got a hard ceiling, and it doesn't work as a pay-per-view product. And so, they're having Bellator tried to experiment with it, and now PFL is trying to experiment with it.
Their only saving grace is that they have Jake Paul. He is their only saving grace. He is the only spectacle. I mean, they have Francis too, but where are they going to find?
Yeah,
Where are they going to
but
find someone to fight Francis?
I mean, this is the thing. The thing that I think we saw right here is that, and this is the reason that Dana White was just willing to let Francis Ngannou walk, is that Francis Ngannou is the brand of star that, and MMA has produced, the UFC has produced a lot of these, MMA has produced a lot of these. He is the brand of star that only really works within the confine of within a very specific set of confines. Like in boxing, he was good for being a sort of freak show where like a boxing audience doesn't necessarily even know anything about this guy. They're just like, oh, he was a killer in MMA. Now he's trying boxing, But can you really, is Francis Ngannou a sales force for a PFL pay-per-view? Is he going to be your figure that's just gonna like is he gonna be your Conor McGregor who's just gonna attract eyes all the time? No, you could say, oh,
the only hope, really, in my opinion, is if they use him as the B-side and bring in a well-established boxer,
yeah,
to fight in MMA, a Fury, Joshua, any of the, even Dubois, any of these high-level boxers.
You got to bring in. Like, you got to bring in Wilder because he keeps saying that he's going to be an MMA fighter.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
Yeah.
But after that last knockout.
But like, you're not going to bring in any other boxer than that. And even Wilder is a push because they're all going to want money that MMA, that you're not like.
Well, if the Saudis get involved, they'll shell out. Like, they're funding a severe event for these guys.
Yeah, but. Yeah,
they would do it. They would.
I just think, like, even on the Saudi level, this is bad investment. Like, there's overspending on a Tyson Fury fight or overspending on a UFC event where you're like, okay, maybe you get back 70% of your money and the rest you just consider an advertising budget.
But this is not why the fucking Saudis are doing it. Come on now. They're not in this to make money, and
No, I know, but I'm saying, like,
it's perfect.
You lose money. Let's say you lose money on the Sphere and on like whatever, and you say, okay, well, it's like an $8 million advertising, sports washing investment. This is what I'm saying is that, people say, oh, it's pure sports washing. Like, yeah. Sports washing, you have to have something people want to watch.
Well, it's a twofer here. It's not just sports washing, although that is a big part of it. The other part of it is, like, they're actual combat fans. They want to see. And when you got all the money in the world and you want to see a fight happen, you're going to make sure
there is that. But also, what I'm saying is that, like, if they're actual combat sports fans and they are actual and they are actually trying to sports wash and get people into exciting events that make the country look good, or even just give it a foothold on the international stage, that gets people talking about them, about something other than terrible atrocities and yada, yada, yada. If that's it, whether they're sports fans or whether they're sports washing, if they're sports fans, at some point they got to say, well, I don't want to watch this. I don't care about these fights. I'm an actual fan. Like, you can't. How much are you going to make? How much is any actual fan going to pay for Johnny Eblin versus Fabian Edwards again? Like,
No.
if they're actual fans, that has a shelf life.
Sure.
And if they're sports washing, you have to have events that people are going to actually watch and talk about. Otherwise, what's the point? You're just throwing money away.
Right, and that's what's happening. They are throwing away the money because, like you're saying, your point is it's a shitty business model.
Yeah, like even if you're sports washing a UFC Sphere event and you're just saying, okay, we're blowing $20 million on this. Like, okay, so maybe you get some of that back actually from the event profit itself. But more than that, you got your name on a card that a shitload of people watched, and it was all over the place. That is advertising money. You put all that money, you spend $15 million on PFL Battle of the Giants. Like, you just paid $15 million to get nothing. Your name on nothing,
Yeah, I think they have a soft spot for Francis.
I'm sure they do, but Francis he is 38, and how long is that soft? How many soft spots? How much can he carry PFL?
No, he can't carry PFL. What I'm saying is the Saudis are going to carry PFL.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying how are the Saudis going to carry PFL when they don't have anything to carry with,
Well, like I said, they do have the Jake Paul thing. If Jake Paul fights in MMA,
that is such like timeshare MMA business model. It's Jake Paul fighting in MMA. I will believe it when I see it.
Sure, but I mean that is a thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, once that happens, though,
this feels to me more than a lot of the sports washing out there, paying big money. It's like hearing that like Oman or whatever, I think it is, just invested more money in ONE FC. It's like, how hard are you getting conned? What is this ONE FC money getting you? Because it's not getting you money, and it's not getting you like international interest from an audience or anything. Maybe this is actually money laundering,
allegedly.
Hey, I said maybe in there.
It definitely it stinks for sure. It makes zero business sense.
Yeah. We have people like the Saudis have infinite money, yada yada. I get it, but then that still doesn't mean that they're just going to infinitely spend it on stuff that makes no sense. I mean, I guess they tried to build that whole city across the desert that was just like a 2 mile wide line. So yeah, you're right. They have infinite money. They'll burn it on fucking anything. What am I?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not like they're only in combat sports.
No, I know, but
they're doing all sports.
The other stuff they're doing at least has, like I say, that actually there's an audience that wants to see it. PFL cards?
Yeah, maybe.
Nobody's watching that.
I mean, maybe. I don't know about those sports. I don't fucking watch them.
Yeah, but...
maybe.
Yeah. Anyway. Otherwise, Francis Ngannou, Renan Ferreira. Ferreira looked like he got murdered out there, and
I thought he was dead.
Ngannou thought he was dead. Ngannou was acting after that fight like he wanted to turn himself in.
Well, I mean, he did punch him in the back of the head a couple times.
Yes. 4 or 5 or...
like, the last person you want to get punched in the back of the head by is Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I mean, I will say though, that was one of those instances where the only thing I can do is turn and look at the ref and be like, these fouls are your fault. If anybody needs to get punished for these fouls, it is you, not Francis Ngannou. Because Hernan Ferreira was done like 6 punches ago, and he's just laying there, and you're not stopping it. So Francis Ngannou's like, well, I got to keep punching him. Yeah. And those punches, the more punches that somebody throws at somebody in that position, the more likely they are to hit the back of the head. So,
I think it's fair to say that Francis is the baddest man on the planet still.
Oh yeah.
Still. Like, yeah, Joshua knocked him out, but take the gloves off or shrink the gloves and let's see what happens. Let's mix it up and see what happens. He's the scariest dude on the planet. And yeah, he shot the takedown. So what? He got the finish.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he is still the one out there who, more than anyone, feels like he is chasing down things that he wants to do because they are interesting, fun challenges to him, or because they have some broader meaning or some broader legacy out there for him. You know, because the John Jones out there being the other, obviously the other big person in this conversation, the baddest man on the planet. I mean, he's the other guy, him and Tom Aspinall. But
okay, Dana White.
look.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but he's the other senior now. He's a senior now. John Jones, he's a senior.
And I'm sorry, but like, John Jones had the chance to fight Francis Ngannou long before Ngannou wanted out of the UFC. Francis Ngannou wanting to leave the UFC had nothing to do with John Jones. That was not a part of the equation.
It's all money. It's money on both sides.
Yeah, but you know,
John Jones didn't fight Ngannou because of money. The UFC wasn't going to pay him for it.
And Francis Ngannou didn't fight John Jones because he didn't want, you know, the UFC didn't want to negotiate with him because of money too. Like, it was purely a money play. But Ngannou's the one that's chasing something. Like, Jones just, he doesn't.
Jones is only chasing a retirement fight.
Yeah.
He's if he wants to say, hey, I beat the greatest heavyweight of all time.
He wants a fight to go out on that makes him look like he's still the best guy in the world.
I'm fine with that. And I have not forgotten what John Jones has done in this sport. In the sport. Outside of the sport. Inside the sport, the greatest of all time. And don't anybody ever fucking get that twisted. The greatest we have ever seen in the history of the sport.
I will let you have it. I don't have the energy to fight about it because it's not really on topic. But John wants to ride out. He wants to just ride out on a high note and have his legacy fight and go. Ngannou, I still feel like, is out there pursuing fights that he thinks will be something challenging or different for him that he might lose.
Which is Tom Aspinall, honestly. That's the
unfortunately,
That's the new dream.
Ngannou's path led him away from the UFC, I think, permanently. But
unfortunately for us, good for him.
Yeah,
good for Ngannou. He's got the biggest paychecks he's ever had in his life.
Absolutely. So, yeah, this Hernan Ferreira fight. The other thing, I guess, to say with all this is, the PFL really had the UFC put on an Apex card. What looked on paper to be a decent Apex card, what felt for much of it to be a total slog. And the PFL had a perfect chance to put on their big pay-per-view, steal all the UFC's thunder, whip up their own moment, have their own big thing, and my God, I could not have cared less.
Right.
By the time that Ngannou fight went down, it just was such a perfunctory sort of, he took him down and that's it. Killed him. Done.
I'm actually surprised the odds were as tight as they were.
Yeah. And of course, the PFL card being in Saudi Arabia means that it's that most unfortunate of things, a card in front of rich dudes, which means it has no atmosphere at all. Nobody's getting up and getting loud and cheering and going. Nobody's getting drunk and fighting in the stands, singing songs, getting crazy. These are all millionaires, billionaires. They're just,
They're just high off adrenochrome, just sitting there buzzing, allegedly.
And then, the UFC card is in the apex. So you get
Jamal Hill screaming.
You get Jamal Hill screaming, and that's it. Him drunk, him screaming, him singing, and nobody else.
In the cowboy hat.
Yeah. So this really was a night where the PFL had a big chance to show up. Paul Hughes and AJ McKee showed up. That fight was fun as hell. AJ got a bit exposed. It says split on here. That was a 30-27 Paul Hughes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where did he get exposed at? On the feet?
His striking game is entirely built for him to have pressure and be able to go forward. And Paul Hughes just started walking him down.
Oh, wow.
And the moment Hughes started walking him down, all the footwork problems, all the defensive problems, all the timing problems in McKee's game really opened up. Because he's got a striking game. It's built off of MMA. His striking game is very clearly, it's like built on 1-2s, built on single shots, built on things like spinning back fists and like body kicks. And, it's built on flash and big movements and things where he's insulated by his reach and by the threat of the takedown and all that. And Hughes could just get in the pocket with him. And if McKee had to extend over the first 1-2, he started getting off balance. He would lose his place defensively. He would walk himself into the fence really easily. He just started getting cracked hard.
I'm not sure if that's exposing him because Paul Hughes is fucking good.
I mean, Paul Hughes is good.
And we've seen AJ fight some really amazing strikers. And honestly, I thought he beat Pitbull in their rematch. So as far as I'm concerned, this is his first real loss.
Sure, but Pitbull doesn't push. He does not push the same kind of pressure pace that Hughes did. I mean, what I will say is, it's not that AJ McKee got exposed generally as a fighter. No, he's still a very good fighter. It's that his striking game got exposed because it is not made to deal with the high energy pressure meta of other elite striking games. Pitbull is a very, very good fighter, a very difficult fighter, but his game is something of a throwback. It's, it's kind of the striking game out of 10 years ago.
That's fair.
Hughes is not. Hughes is the cutting edge of the meta.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the front foot. He's putting combinations together. He is walking you down. And McKee was not ready. He wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, is it worth going back to watch?
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a really good fight. Really interesting fight. Otherwise, Eblin Edwards was not fun.
That last round was fun.
That was when Baby Edwards actually started going for it. But at that point, it's like, you're not going to put him away.
But here was the thing. In my head, I'm like, does he got some Leon in him? Is he going to do it? And he just couldn't. He tried. Valiant effort. And honestly, every time I looked at the screen, because I'm watching UFC also, but every time I glanced over, Eblin just hanging on him. And I'm like, here we go again. But then I just happened to like really zoom in for that fifth and final round when the odds were like minus 2,000 for Eblin.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was it was a fight that didn't need to happen twice.
Oh, we didn't even mention Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, no, Cyborg Pacheco. That was for a fight that Cyborg won every round but one. it was a really good close fight. She's she's 39. She's getting older, so she hit a cardio wall pretty early in this fight,
and she had a lot of damage really early. She got cut really bad around her eyes early in the fight.
Got cut up, and she hit a cardio wall, and that made it tough. Pacheco was there sitting on counters, landing her own shots, making it look like kind of the end of every round. Cyborg looked worse for wear between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're actually watching during the rounds and not just watching the facial damage, it was,
you
Cyborg's
can ignore those overhands.
Yeah, the big flurries, the big takedowns, the big ground and pound, all that kind of stuff. Cyborg took control. It was a good fight. It just wasn't, having 5 rounds of that alongside the 5 rounds of Eblin Edwards and then 2 minutes of Francis Ngannou just like taking Ferreira down and crushing him like it was nothing.
He did escape a triangle.
He did escape a triangle. I would have been laughing for years if Francis Ngannou got triangled by Hernan Ferreira. And then you throw in like Zafar Mohsen versus Hussein Katamagomedov in there, just Magomayev in there, where that's just like the clinchiest, driest, unfun fight. It just, the whole card didn't inspire.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying earlier, it feels like it's only a matter of time before PFL just not goes away, but rebrands with 3 other letters or 4 other letters, and you know what I mean.
It is one of these things where it just doesn't. If this was supposed to be the kickoff of a new PFL era, I don't know what. I don't think we saw that. We just saw PFL at the very best treading water, and realistically just failing to make an impact with a big shot, with a big opportunity.
And they were still having production hiccups on this pay-per-view. Yeah. Like, I don't understand that. You got all this money to burn, and you can't get your production value to where it needs to be.
Yeah, somebody asking if it's worth doing fights to make on any of these PFL fights. I'm trying to look at like.
Yeah. We already talked about Deontay Wilder and Francis Ngannou.
Wilder and Ngannou.
I will absolutely tune in for that.
I'm looking at the PFL, the middleweight roster right now just says Derek Brunson and nothing else on it. So I don't know who's going to fight Eblin next.
He'll probably rematch someone.
Yeah. I don't know. No, it's not worth it. Honestly, it's not worth trying to do.
Honestly,
on this.
I guarantee. You know what? I bet you they just rematch Pacheco and Cyborg.
Yeah, you have to. Really, you have to rematch them. There's nothing else on that women's featherweight roster that I care about. All right, let's take a look at the UFC card now, which was itself, unfortunately, really pretty dry.
Oh, yeah. It was not good.
Anthony Hernandez, Michelle Pereira.
That was cool, though. I'm so happy for Fluffy.
Yeah, that was the 2 true outcome fight. Pereira had his opening round where he looked super fast and super violent, and Hernandez looked like he might be getting hurt all kinds of ways.
Yeah, that only lasted for like 30 seconds, though.
No, I know. It did not last long. It lasted long enough for me to say that Pereira won round 1. I can understand if you don't want to say that, but I think Hernandez looked hurt enough that if I'm just going off damage as the first criteria, that I think Hernandez got more damage that round.
That's fair.
But everything after that was all Hernandez.
One-way traffic.
And yeah, that's the thing. Pereira, Connor talked about this on the Vivi, and I picked Pereira going in, knowing full well that this could happen.
Holy shit, you traitor, Zane.
Hey, look, I'm not a traitor. I don't care about Anthony Hernandez. I like him fine.
Every single one of these shows, you're like, he should fight Fluffy. He should fight Fluffy. He should fight
I think
Fluffy.
He's good. I think he's good, but I don't care about him. He's not my friend.
Wild. Come on now.
Come on. I have like 10 guys out there that I go to the paint for, and they are the weirdest fighters on the planet that make no sense to anybody. But I picked Pereira because I thought that early speed would be just too much. And it almost was, and I was wrong. But everything, I was prepared fully for the idea that Hernandez put Pereira right back in the Tristan Connolly zone, just like he had him. The moment Pereira went for that guillotine in round 2,
which was close,
but that was like, I was like, that is the last gasp of a dying man. Like, that is the last moment that he will have 1 second of fun in this fight at all. The last moment where he thinks he will have a little bit of like, I'm doing something here. And that was over, and he just got shit kicked. And Hernandez is that dude. Like, you gotta, when you have the chance to put it on him, you gotta put it on him. Because if you don't, it's over. Yeah.
He's like Darren Elkins, but without taking all the damage.
Yeah.
Even though he did take some tonight.
He still takes some. He still has to.
Something I found fascinating were the betting odds. So on DraftKings, Fluffy was the favorite, a small one, like minus 135. Yeah. Pereira plus 124.
Yeah.
But you click on that and it shows you the percentage of people that are betting on who, and all the dumb money was on Pereira. Like 70-something% of the money was on Pereira, but Fluffy was still the favorite, which told me the professionals have bet on Fluffy.
Yeah.
Everybody else has bet on Pereira.
Yeah. I was the dumb money, which is why I didn't put any money on there, because I know I'm the dumb money. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things too, where it's, Hernandez is the fight. He would be the smart betting pick in this fight, because if you're looking at who can win, who's going to win this fight if it goes 5 rounds, there's no way it's going to be Pereira.
Oh, he looks so big out there too.
Yeah,
he looked massive.
He is huge. He is nature's middleweight. The fact that even Hernandez said after, I don't know how he ever made 170 pounds. I don't know why he ever went there. Like, he's a giant.
He is a giant. And he has a 205 style anyways. I wonder if he should go there.
He could. He's fought there in the past. He literally, his last fights before getting to the UFC were at 205, and he went straight from 205 to 170.
Like, that's nuts. But I think that division suits him way better.
Yeah, 185, 205, they're both his kind of division. And, because it's not like he wasn't blitzing his way through 185 too, and it's not like there's a ton of guys out there who can do to him what Hernandez can,
Yeah, and he might be a little more picky with his stylistic matchups.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Hernandez is, if you have any cardio or confidence problems, don't fight that man.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't,
100%.
Yeah, so
I'm happy for him, man. I think he needs to fight someone. He needs to fight Kaio.
Yeah. Let me see. Middleweight, who we got in our rankings here? Coming off a win.
Imavov.
We've got Hermanson coming off a win. Dolidze coming off a win. Bahayo, Imavov. And but those, he's not going to get Bahayo or Imavov. They're both now ranked top 5. He is most likely to get
Jack,
Dolidze or Jack.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like a guy who's asking for a lot of fights either. So that makes him real likely to get Jack Hermanson, because Jack Hermanson's a dude that nobody really wants to fight Jack Hermanson. Even if you think you can beat Jack Hermanson, nobody's out there like...
Or even if you do beat him, it does nothing for you.
Yeah. He's a tough fight for a lot of people, and he's a guy nobody wants to fight. So, Hermanson,
you know what I strangely want to see? I want to see Fluffy fight Izzy.
Yeah, I mean,
Adesanya.
I would love to see that someday, but if I'm Israel Adesanya, I do not take that fight until Hernandez has already lost a belt, or has a belt. Honestly, either Hernandez has a belt, or I don't take that fight ever. Like, no, this man. I am either fighting this man for gold or never.
I still want to see it.
Yes, it would be fun. So yeah, great win for Hernandez. Keep the ball rolling. And yeah, I mean, he's really coming into his own now. You know, he's 31. He's got 6 straight wins. And the thing about him is, way more than Delidzi out there, or Vittori, or a lot of these other grinders, more than Strickland as a grinder, Hernandez is actually fun to watch.
He's finishing motherfuckers.
Yeah. He goes wild on people. He breaks them. So
yeah, after watching him strangle Kopylov, there was no way I was going to pick him to lose against Pereira.
All right, so we got a question. What's the funnest next fight for Pereira? And now coming off a loss, Paulo Costa. It's got to be Paulo Costa.
100%. 100%. That's the fight to make.
Somebody saying Caio Bahaio. Caio's not taking these fights. Caio's ranked 5 now. He's not going to go fight Michel Pereira, you know. But
yeah, Paulo Costa. That's
Paulo Costa. That fight. Brendan Allen would be a pretty fun fight, but Paulo Costa is the fight.
They're both coming off a loss now, and I still think that could be a main event.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, main event, Paulo Costa.
Not that I need to see either of them in 5-round fights.
No, 3-round main event.
3-round main event.
Also, somebody saying Caio is funny. No, my hatred of the fighting nerds is not about to... I am putting my foot down on Caio Bahaio as a fun fighter to put in fun fights. Absolutely not. All right. Rob Font, Kyler Phillips.
Man, I was this close to picking Font. I was this close to picking him. But I picked Brandon Royval last week, though.
Hey, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Who'd you pick?
I picked Tyra.
But everybody did.
I knew that Tyra was going to get him on the mat, and Royval tends to lose to better grapplers, guys that can hang and scramble with him.
Proven.
You know, it is where he's weak. But Tyra's game is also shallow. It's
singular.
Not, you know?
Yeah.
So, but this fight, the odds for this were just way out there. I was looking at this going in, and I talked about on the Vivi and talked about, you know, it's just like, I couldn't believe that Phillips was a huge favorite. It's like, if this were 5 rounds, I would pick Font every time. You know? The only reason I picked Phillips was because this is a 3-round fight. And I figured Phillips could wrestle for a round, and he could stay outside and be speedy and be difficult for a round before Font caught up to him the way he did. But it only took 1 round for Phillips to burn his gas tank, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I wish it had been a 5-round fight.
We might have gotten a finish.
Exactly. We would have got a finish. And if Phillips wants to view himself as a future contender, he needs to figure out that his gas tank is a huge problem. This still taught him that, frankly. But he needs that experience of a 5-round fight, because I thought he could win a 3-round fight, even getting gassed terribly in the final round. But he couldn't. So I'm glad Font won this fight, honestly.
I'm glad too, because I hate the backing up, the back foot style. If you don't have venomous counters where you can just turn on a dime like Machida used to do and just knock people out, it is the most boring striking style there is.
Yeah,
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Necessarily find Phillips boring. He's just so disjointed, and it's all like, oh, here's a spin kick, here's like a lunging right hand. It's like you're not actually connecting anything. You're not controlling anything.
Zane, we didn't even talk about Fluffy's spinning back kick to the legs.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
The Hoost spin kick to the
Shout out Ernesto.
Yeah. So
Kyler's just it's not the meta. Like he's got to get some striking. He's got to get some venomous striking somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even. I don't even think he's fast enough that he could be venomous. It's just there's no progression. He doesn't set anything up. He doesn't have anything where he's luring anybody into traps and setting. Like you have to have a good jab so that you get people thinking about things. You have to have good, you have to have good progressive setups in fights for high level opponents so that they think about and have to consider what might be coming next and not just
like Fluffy.
You're going to throw a wheel kick. Oh, you're going to throw a back fist. Oh, you're going to throw a body kick. Well, as long as I can make the read off of the move that you're making, I'll be defensively set to deal with it. Or in the case of Font, as Font showed, if I can just push you back and keep you on your bike, then you can't set your feet well enough to throw anything with any real power.
And that's the thing. He's so willing to back up. Like he's so willing to play the back foot. And like, I don't think I've ever seen a case of someone whose MO is to wrestle you be so willing to back up. Like my brain is struggling to put that together. Like, how is this a thing?
I don't know. It's weird because he really does have the athleticism of a top 5 guy, but
it's like he doesn't know it.
It's just super disjointed game, and he gets really tired with his own success. Like he out wrestled Font easily for a round, and he was fucking exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a top 5 fighter. You can't fight for a belt if your own success ruins you.
In one round.
Yeah. Anyway, solid performance from Font. He bit down. He knew what he needed to do. He stayed on the front foot. He pressured. He threw in volume. He kept Phillips on his bike. And he didn't let Phillips off the hook for gassing out, which all great work for him to get a win inside 3 rounds against an opponent who very much had the ability to get 2 rounds and collapse and win out an ugly decision. And
with a new camp.
Yep.
He's got a new squad. And so far, so good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the TriStar would be my choice for a rebuild my game camp, but hey, if it rebuilds your confidence, Firas does have that whole, here, read some philosophy, let's talk about life lessons kind of thing. So if Font just needed to get his confidence back, then maybe somebody like Zahabi is a good guy to do that.
Yeah. Look at his brother. Look at what his brother's doing.
Yeah.
Zahabi's brother. He's tearing it up right now.
Yeah. Somebody asked him what's next for Rob Font. Looking at our rankings here. He could fight Montel Jackson. I wouldn't if I were him, considering that he's a current top 10 fighter coming off a win, having been as high as top 5, and Jackson is just scraping the bottom of top 15, looking to jump up.
I'm fine with an Aldo rematch.
Sure. Or you could do Mario Batista.
No.
No?
No.
Well, okay.
No.
Oh, that's right.
Do not bring Mario Bautista into this fucking 6th round, the greatest post-fight show on earth, and you have the nerve, the audacity, Zane. You miss 1 week and you come back and you're saying, woosah. Well, I'm a woosah right now.
Close your eyes. Backwards from 10.
I need a plastic bag or a brown paper bag
Yeah.
to breathe in. Man, don't ever speak that name here again, Zane.
Yeah. You could do Aldo Font rematch. You could do.
No, don't you do it. You're going to make your computer crash.
Otherwise, it's either that. You could, if he's willing to fight Montel Jackson, it's a good fight. I would not want to be gatekeeper for that kind of fighting if I don't have to be. Otherwise, I would say, if I'm Font right now, I'm looking at trying to get the Aldo rematch or a Vera rematch or a Cejudo fight. Those are all big name fights. Guys coming off losses, guys who need a bounce back, guys you can headline with, and get some prestige off of it.
And getting a 5-rounder, like you were saying earlier.
He's 37 now. There's no time on his side. You don't want to be that gatekeeper if you don't have to be at that age.
Yeah.
So. All right. That brings us to flyweight bout. Charles Johnson, Sumudaerji, and amazingly, Charles Johnson losing the 3rd round to get this win. But
and nearly losing the 1st round.
Yeah, this was a close run. I mean, he always loses the 1st round. That's the thing with Charles Johnson. He always loses round 1, always wins round 3. So him losing the 3rd round to get this win, that's kind of a miracle.
But look at how hot he came out.
Oh, yeah.
Like he came out and went after it like it was a 3rd round.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he did differently. And I'm not saying it's a good thing and it actually worked out for him, but he won the 1st round.
Yeah, he won the 1st round, and then he had a great 2nd round, showed up big there, and
nearly got a stoppage.
Yeah. And then, credit to Sumudaerji for digging deep and coming back with fire in the 3rd round and making this a fight, because he nearly went out. And this could have been stopped, really.
Couple fights tonight could have been stopped.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Somebody asking if Charles Johnson has the worst hair in the UFC. Yeah, top running. Top 5 worst hair, definitely.
Top 3.
Yeah, top 3.
Yeah, the worst. I can't think of one person that has worse hair.
The skullet with the soul patch in the back.
I don't know what it is.
No, it's terrible. So yeah, good fight for him though. Sumudaerji. This was a really tough matchup for Sumudaerji. So
honestly, I thought he did fantastic in the grappling.
Yeah, given the way this fight was matched up for Sumudaerji, I think he showed up really great for a fight he lost by unanimous decision. This was a really good fight from him.
He almost had that triangle armbar. That was sweet, and that sweep he hit.
Yeah,
he was ready for the grappling.
He was ready. He showed up great. He made a great fight out of this. Good on him. For Johnson, they're talking about him as like, oh, is he going to be top 15 or whatever? I mean, at one point he lost back-to-back fights in the UFC, so I don't know if there's necessarily a top 15 ranking around the corner for him at some point. Although it's flyweight, it's not hard to get ranked top 15.
I thought Matt Schnell retired.
He did.
Why is he ranked?
I was just going to say the current top 15 ranked flyweight just retired because the UFC, the ranking methodology and panel that the UFC has chosen and runs is terrible. And their plans to fix it are also terrible.
Right.
They have no way or plan of how to do rankings because they want to control them without being seen to control them, which means that they're never going to get the kind of people running it that would run a good independent rankings panel because it's going to be really independent. It's going to include fighters that aren't even in the UFC. It's going to be hard as hell for the UFC to use that just as a promotion tool, which is all they want. And they don't want to run it in-house because then that actually sets the fighters up to be able to negotiate against the UFC. You're telling me I'm the number 5 ranked flyweight in the world, and you're going to offer me this? You are saying it specifically that I am this good? You need to pay me like that, you know?
The parable is their drug testing program.
Yeah.
Same. It's not in-house. No, it's third party.
And
no, it's not.
You know, they're having their cake and they're eating it too, and there's no way to run this without getting the worst of both worlds. It's just going to be a broken system, no matter what.
Yeah, but again, rankings are for the casuals, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So Charles Johnson, though, you know, he could fight somebody like Asu Almabayev. I don't know that. Like, I don't like making matchups like that just off of whatever, but he's just in the mid-fight sort of action area where, like, I'd be, you know, somebody like Ronaldo Rodriguez, that Mexican kid who showed up big on the 306 card. You know, those are the kind of action fights that Johnson needs to be in. Or is there any veterans further up the card? Not really. Yeah. So, I don't know. I love Charles Johnson. He's a fighter I'm always going to root for, but he's also just kind of a guy on the roster.
Oh yeah. I'm shocked he was winning the striking out there. Like, I'm shocked he found a knockdown. Shocked.
He is a dude. He is a dude that, for his slow starts and overcautiousness often, his striking usually gets better and better and better as it goes on. I mean, he knocked the shit out of Joshua Van, you know, like he solves people as he goes. He is a weird.
I'm not sure if it's solving as much as he's just throwing the most unexpected chaos that I don't even think he knows he's throwing, and it just kind of happens.
No, it's happened for a lot of fights with him, and I think he gets, at the very least, he gets good at getting a read on timing with people. He may not,
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
He may not get, like, really technical with it, but he's got a good knack for, like...
He threw one uppercut tonight, and it was the best timed uppercut he could have ever thrown.
Yeah.
But it's like, where did this come from? And why aren't you doing more of it?
He gets reads and he does weird stuff. Anyway, let's go back to burning through the rest of this card because it was not, you know, that notable. Cameron Smotherman, Jake Hadley. First of all, I want to know, why'd you pick Cameron Smotherman going into this?
Because I don't think Hadley belongs in the UFC. And I got to be honest, when I made my picks, but I don't think Jake Hadley, I will never pick Jake Hadley in an MMA fight in the UFC, ever.
But I wouldn't pick Cameron Smotherman in a UFC fight ever either.
Yeah, but against Hadley?
Even against Hadley. Like, I wouldn't pick him. I mean,
you picked Hadley here?
I did.
Ugh.
3 days notice for a guy who got iced
I don't give
in
a
1
fuck.
minute.
I don't give a fuck. I'm not picking Hadley in a UFC fight.
Hadley just won a UFC fight.
Yeah, whatever. I picked against him. He shocked me.
Yeah.
Hey, even a broken clock is right twice a day, if it's analog.
I mean, Hadley, to me, there's some predictability in him.
He's not good.
No, he's not. But Smotherman is also not good at all. I mean,
he's better than Hadley.
He is, clearly. I am shocked at how badly Hadley showed up.
Hadley belongs on the regional scene.
Oh, they both belong on the regional scene. I will say this, though.
Well, that's probably true, too.
Credit to Smotherman. He recognized Hadley's high guard and punched under it really well. All that body work, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Then Hadley, what the hell are you doing getting walked down by a living statue? Like, this man is the most static, I just want to sit and meet you in the middle fighter out there. And Hadley just was on his bike, letting this guy walk him down the whole time. And the moment he realized that he had actually lost this fight and that he needed to bite down, he hurt he rocked Smotherman. Like, all you had to do was go out there and actually fight this fight like you want to win it. And he did not at any point until it was way too late.
Yeah, I've been nothing but disappointed in Hadley since the first time I saw him fight. And I refused. He's someone I refuse to pick. I will never pick him.
I have a soft spot for him.
That's wild.
I told you. I told you with Hernandez. I got
you don't have a soft spot for Fluffy, but you do for this bomb.
I told you it's the most unexplainable fighters out there. And you're like, oh, that's Anthony Hernandez. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. When we get there, you're gonna hear it and you're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And here we are.
See? Like, I don't. Are you related to him? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's not a savage. He's not fun. No. He's not any. Like, what is it? What is it?
He's got a weird 50-50 boxing game that he actually seems
Does
like
he lend you money?
And pays attention to. That's it. That's the whole reason.
Ugh.
Anyway.
No wonder you brought up Mario Bautista.
Yeah. All right. Darren Elkins, Daniel Pineda. This is the old guy fight that they need to do. You got old guys on your roster. Put them in fights like this.
This was my fight of the night.
Yeah.
This was fantastic.
I assume it won fight of the night.
This had everything.
Fight of the night, it did. Elkins and Pineda, they each got a chunk of change.
Pineda's swan song.
The UFC, well, that's right. I was going to say the UFC kept a bonus, but that's Edwards got the only other finish on the card, and she missed weight, so she couldn't get a bonus.
That's unfortunate because she looked great tonight. But, man, this fight had everything I wanted it to have. I actually picked Pineda.
Oh.
I know.
You're dogging me for my picks, and you're picking against Darren Elkins, against a guy who drops for
you picked Jake Hadley.
Hey, you picked against
Elkins. You picked against Fluffy.
You picked the guy who jumps the ghillie against Darren Elkins.
And it was effective. When it was effective.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, this fight was fun as hell, but for a fight that Elkins really kind of could have had in complete control, he looked old.
Yeah. I mean, they're both old.
They're both old.
My logic was I thought Pineda would be able to hang in the scrambles. And he did.
He did.
He did really well.
He did.
But
the moment he's
too comfortable conceding bottom position.
He is.
That's that old school fighting style. But good on him, man. He retired tonight.
That's the style of a guy who has literally never won a decision in his entire career.
I love that. He's a killed kind of guy.
Never won a fight. So literally just. I mean, is there any other fighter who has 28 wins in 48 fights and has never had a fight that he's won go to decision? 9 wins by KO, 19 by submission.
Not that I know of. It would take a lot of research to figure that one out. But man, salute to Pineda.
Yep.
Why was Dom calling him Pineda?
Because Dom he struggles. Look, I know I struggle with some names out there. Portuguese is my enemy. All that. Dom has never seen a name that he won't struggle with. That dude was born to be a substitute teacher. Like he was born.
Shit.
He was born to be reading that list of names like he had never seen a name before in his life. Anyway. And I'm glad to see Pineda retire off that, honestly. Like, that was a Legends fight for Legends, and it sucked a little that he jumped in on Elkins' victory speech and is basically like, give me my moment. But I can also understand that it's a pretty emotional moment for him, and he just wanted to get it done. He wanted to get out of there as fast as he could and not wait for Darren Elkins to talk his way through victory,
Yeah, no, I got so much respect for Pineda. His style has always been fun. He shed a lot of blood for us.
Yep.
I hope he's got some things going on outside of the cage.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Hope you got some other stuff to do because you had a lot of fun fights out there, man. Otherwise, Asu Almabayev beat Matheus Nicolau, and Nicolau just he doesn't have a game for high level MMA.
I don't want to call him soft.
He's not soft. He's so counter focused that he doesn't know how to create, and he doesn't create. And
but I feel like he doesn't have a chin. Also,
well, there's that. But like he threw one strike in the first round. You know,
I gave the first round a 9-9. No one got credit for that. That was a terrible round.
Like you can't. And literally, if he'd thrown 5 strikes, he would have won this fight.
Right.
In that first round. Like you just can't be that much of a back foot counter fighter these days in the UFC. You can't. If you're going to counter fight, you got to create. You got to push offense out there that makes somebody overcommit so you can counter. You can't just sit there and wait for them to overcommit. They'll just blitz after you and put it on you.
Not at this level.
Yeah. So it's a win for Almabayev, but it didn't really make him look any better.
And he had the nerve to call for the title. I mean, I know the weight class or whatever, but
yeah,
that's not one. Dana White is not going to acknowledge him after this.
No, he's clearly a very good athlete, but a lot of the fighters coming out of this region, I've harped on this before, so I'll keep it brief. But a lot of fighters coming out of the former Soviet states, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, all that. They're very IMMAF focused fighters, very focused on that style of game, and it's a high pace, high control style of fighting that does not emphasize finishing. And we saw it with Muhammad Mokaev as the IMMAF king of all kings. He had like 70 amateur fights, and he was like the king shit of that kind of, you're really pushing that guy against the cage and like making him work really hard, and I guess you're winning, but the UFC cut him. They literally cut him, like without him losing,
which is more outside of the octagon stuff. But
I don't think it is. If he was a crazy killer, they would have kept him. They would have said, "Oh,
true."
Okay.
Well, he was being a nudist Buddhist, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have an attitude outside of the cage, and you're boring as fuck inside of the cage. You can be one, you can't be both.
Yeah, nudist
Buddhist.
Like Khabib went nuts on Conor and like jumped out of the octagon and assaulted Dylan Dennis outside the cage and all sorts of wild shit. They didn't cut Khabib, Right.
Yeah, of course. No, yeah. He was a cash cow.
Yeah. Mokaev. And so Almabayev, he's kind of in that boat where like, you won. You're winning a lot, and you might go on to be a top tier fighter because you're such an athlete, but I'm not really all that excited about it right now.
Yeah, it's not the time to be boring. That's for sure. Especially in that division.
Yeah.
You can't be boring.
Otherwise, Matsumoto Katona. Oh, I guess Almabayev is there he's ranked now. He's top 14. He's number 14 in the division. So, a
lot of guys coming off of losses.
Tim Elliott, Tajiro Landbakov, one of them. Probably Tim Elliott. Put him in against Tim Elliott. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
Otherwise, Matsumoto Katona. This was a good fight.
Man, I'm so pissed because it looked like a great fight, but I was watching the Cyborg fight, so I had this one muted, and I was just kind of more focused on that one. So fill me in. It looked nip tuck the whole kind
of way. It was great.
Through.
Honestly, there's a good argument. Katona should have won it. He had the first and the last rounds were very close. I think. Let's see what the stats say on this. Stats have their SIG strikes absolutely even through three rounds, but Katona, he had an edge in round 1, a big edge. He won that, I think, on every card. And round 3, they were very, very close, basically dead even. And Katona had a couple of takedowns and a lot of control time.
Mm-hmm.
And Matsumoto had a couple of salvos where he landed some shots that looked like they snapped Katona's head back a bit. But they were very nip-tuck, back and forth, really going after it. The big thing here was Matsumoto definitely won the second round. And that was the only clear round of the fight. When you have a fight like that, where it's 2 really nip-tuck rounds and 1 really clear round, more often than not, the fighter that wins that 1 clear round is going to win the other. They're going to get enough judges to give them 1 other round to win the fight. So
yeah, a lot of people were picking Katona here.
I picked Matsumoto just because Katona is one of those fighters who he competes amazingly well with everybody. He's hard to hurt. He's hard to out wrestle. He's hard to out strike. He's hard to out grapple. But what do you ever think of if you think of like a Katona dominating front running performance where he really goes out ahead and gets it and puts it on somebody?
He's one of those guys where it feels like he fights to the level of his competition. Yeah. So he's always in these fun scraps. But I don't, he's not someone that just comes and dominates somebody.
Matsumoto is a fighter who looks like an absolute killer in bursts and doesn't really know how to control his own pace.
Yeah, a little raw. Yet. A little raw.
But he knows how to be a killer.
Mm-hmm.
Katona does not. Katona he knows how to compete. He knows how to go out there and be tough.
Yeah.
But you never see him just go out and like take over a fight with somebody. So I
think he's too nice.
Yeah,
he's such a nice guy. I think he just doesn't have that wickedness, you know?
Yeah. Otherwise, Jocelyn Edwards beat Tamires Vidal. Good on Vidal for showing up in shape and actually looking like somebody who'd had a fight camp for once in her career.
Yeah, true.
But she still looks like a fighter that does not train at all. Outside of actually looking in shape this time, like she doesn't have any striking game.
Well, she does when she's walking to the cage. She's got the mean mug down.
Yeah, she's got the mean mug down.
She looks the part. She's like, oh, she looks kind of scary. Like she's about to hurt someone. But from the second the bell started, Edwards went right at her.
She doesn't have a striking game she can lean on. She doesn't have a grappling game she can lean on. She doesn't have a wrestling game. You're like, what is she doing all this time in training? What are they working on? The mean mug? Because before this fight, it wasn't even conditioning. Like this is the first time she came in and it's like, oh, you look like you at least like are in shape. You you got physically ready for this fight. But I'm not that surprised that Edwards just was able to run shop on her, frankly.
Edwards was my lock for this card.
That's a scary lock to me because
is it?
Yeah, Jocelyn. I've never seen a fight that Jocelyn Edwards couldn't lose.
I've never seen a fight where Vidal looked great.
No. Vidal is terrible.
Hold on. 2 separate fights. Vidal has
quit.
No. She got punched in the titty and was like, "I'm done."
No, I know. I think Edwards. This is a fight that should be a lock for Edwards. But I have never seen Edwards in a fight that she was not capable of losing.
No, I 100% agree. But this is one of those instances where, like Hadley, I'm not picking Vidal to win a UFC fight.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not that stupid. Come on.
I only picked Elise Reed as my lock. That's my girl. I was like, there's no way Vidal can beat Jocelyn Edwards. Yeah. And to my surprise, this is the best Jocelyn Edwards has ever looked.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm almost wishing they had the 145 division still around because that would have been perfect for her. Since she can't make 135, I think this is the 3rd time she's missed weight.
Yeah. And this is for somebody who has successfully cut down to did she fight at flyweight? I thought she fought at flyweight at least once. She has successfully cut down to flyweight at least once in her career. And missed bantamweight 3 times now.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But she looks so great out there. I mean, she fought hard the entire time. She had the fight won in the 3rd and still chased down the finish. Yeah. Like, she's never looked this good before, and it's marred by a terrible weight miss, 3 pounds.
Yeah,
there's nowhere else to go. Like
no, they're getting rid of 145, and they need every 135 they can get. So you know, some people saying, oh, they should cut her. Like, no, they should
not after this performance.
Get her into a serious program. Like, get
the PI.
Make her have to do like a 3-month stint at the PI before she can fight again.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't know. I hate to say that the UFC should exercise more control over a fighter, but you know, at some point it will get to a point where they either need to cut her or
the athletic commission won't sanction her.
Yeah. Otherwise, Elise Reed beating Jessica Penne.
Hell yeah.
You know, happy for you, for Penne. You know, I continue to wonder, what is the plan? Like,
getting a paycheck.
Yeah, I guess.
That is it. If she wasn't getting the fight down, she was going to lose this fight.
And she got the fight down, and then she still lost.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely got the fight down. Like, Reed was right back up. And honestly, the turning point was in the second round when Reed was like, I'm going to chill out on these kicks a little bit and just work my jab, fight behind it, and just tee off with my boxing.
Yeah.
And that was the recipe for success there.
It was. And for Reed, too, I will also say, this is the most in shape she's ever looked in a fight. She came into this fight looking dialed in, you know?
Yeah.
She's always been a fighter that has looked like just a little bit of, you know, like,
sure,
you know, not out there doing all the road work.
Right.
And this fight, she looked like she was really in shape.
Well, because, I mean, for the longest time, she was a part-time fighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Full-time job, military. So she didn't have all the time in the world to dedicate to this. She has a lot more time now where she can focus on her fighting. And what's crazy is she just got married.
Yeah.
So she was in fight camp for her wedding.
Yeah. Enjoy the honeymoon. Reed. Go do something. Go to Niagara Falls or something, you know?
Yeah, sure. It's a random
place. Niagara Falls. I've been to Niagara Falls. It's a shithole. But, you know, somewhere nicer.
Like Remulac. Go Norfolk to Garthok.
I went to Maine for my honeymoon. That was lovely. Maine is
one of my good friends who's one of my training partners and my dentist. He just went to Maine with his wife for like their 25th anniversary or something crazy like that. And he said it was just beautiful. He was like, oh, you would love it. It's a sailing town. Like,
oh yeah,
go to Maine.
Yeah, Maine's lovely. All right. Women's strawweight bout, Melissa Martinez, Elise Ardeline.
Oh, man. Honestly, I think Dominic Cruz should get a performance bonus. It was right there for him. Keith Peterson botching a fucking call, and he had all the class in the world.
He did. He did. I can't believe it. It's amazing.
Growth. That's shocking. That's the most shocking thing of this entire card.
I will say 30-27 Martinez is a miserable scorecard, and all three judges turned it in.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Ardeline definitely won the first round of that fight. Probably.
I don't know. I gave her the second.
I think she won the second too. I think if we're being really, really real, Alice Ardeline won this fight.
Well, no, slow down. If we're being real, she got finished in the third.
Real. If we're being really real, Ardeline won. If we're being really, really, really real, this is the right call. Melissa Martinez deserves this win for TKOing Alice Ardeline with a body kick.
Should have got a performance bonus for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was such a nasty kick. And first of all, like, I'm not convinced that a low blow is a low blow in the women's division.
Not going. No, we're not.
I'm not convinced. No, I gotta say it. I'm not convinced.
You get to say it, but I'm not picking it up. I've let you say it, and we're moving on.
Oh,
You
don't be
can't do that
afraid,
science.
Zane.
You can't do that science, Eddie. That's
Why?
not. How are you going to do that science?
Because ours are on external. Theirs are internal.
No. How are you going to perform the tests and do the science, Eddie? You can't. You're not. Okay.
You know what I'm saying.
Of course.
You're just being politically correct, Zane.
No, I am moving on.
Okay, fine. Either way,
Anyway,
this should have been a TKO.
This should have been a TKO. And Melissa Martinez, it pains me to hear you say that you love to fight the way you do and that you and your brother are always going to fight the way you do because that's your way of fighting because it sucks. And just the striking, this is she and is her brother Kyler Phillips? Because she and Kyler Phillips.
I knew it. I was thinking the same thing.
Is back foot messy. Just at least Kyler Phillips has form on his single strikes.
Well, at least she's hurting people.
Well, okay, fair.
Strikes.
Yeah, at least Martinez is hurting people. But at least Kyler Phillips has some form on his strikes because
I'll take the function over form all day. But yeah, watching her just back up the whole time and like almost get knocked out
and like throw a right hand where it's like this and just like I don't know how your shoulder stays in its socket. I don't want to see it. I hate it. But hey, she got a win she deserved in a decision she didn't. All right. And then heavyweight bout, Austin Lane, Robles Despain, and
Austin Lame. I hated this fight. Why are they matching him up with guys like this?
Yeah, I don't care. We're just not going to talk about it. We're going to move on. That sucked. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you subscribing to our Substack, we're going to have a little bonus content dropping over there. For those of you who not, time to subscribe. Links in the description down below. Check it out. Help us out. Help keep the show going. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Mario Bautista Zane.